Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Jordy's Basement. My name is Jordan, and today I just want to make a video about some of the things that I've been listening to recently. I used to do a thing on Facebook about a year ago where I'd post random song lists on my Friday afternoons, what I was listening to, and it got some interest. And I got to thinking maybe I'll share it with you on a more regular basis here on YouTube, take a little break from the ranking the albums videos that we've been doing lately. And so what I do is I kind of think I have a nice system. Personally is I have Apple Music. We're subscribed to Apple Music as a family, and they have these smart playlists. I don't know if you use them, but it's kind of cool. You put in a set of parameters, and it makes the playlist for you. So I have a pretty large album song collection, over 20,000 songs in my library. And so for me to listen to only the new stuff is difficult unless it was being organized for me, which this does. Basically, what the last 90 playlist is that it takes all the music that I've added to my library in the past 90 days, and there's your playlist. I put that on shuffle, and I listen constantly. And if a song or an album makes it through 90 days, it gets dumped into Gen Pop out of that 90-day playlist, and I keep it, and then I purchase it either on CD or on album. If I don't enjoy an album or a song as it's going into 90, I just delete it right then and never have to worry about it joining the Gen Pop of the rest of my collection. So it's kind of a cool system. It enables me to keep on top of new music. I'm adding several albums a week to the library, so it's always, like I said, it's always rotating. So what I'm sharing with you here is the current last 90 playlist. Here's what's going through right now in the last 90, and maybe you'll find a suggestion in here or two for yourself as well. It's not all new music. You'll see I'm going to show you some older stuff as well, but this is all the stuff that I've added in the last 90 days. Okay, so with that, let's get started. This is in no particular order. First thing up is Small Fires. This is an indie rock band out of Germany. They just released their second album. It's called Stairwell, and it's pretty cool. I'll put the links for everybody here in case you want to go check them out yourself. It's good indie pop. Indie pop and power pop are two passions of mine. And I'm a sucker for a good hook and a short pop song. And certainly these guys fit the bill. Very, very smart, very good playing, good production, Small Fires. What's up next? All right, so the next up is an album that's celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and that's this puppy, Rush, Signals. This is my original copy from 1982. I have not purchased the new box set with all the accoutrements and the extras. I'm not sure I'm going to do that yet. I always loved this original copy, and it does the job for me, so I'm still thinking on that. But this is one that I've added back to the last 90 just because it's celebrating its 40th anniversary. I think that's kind of cool. Rush Signals, the album that really got me into Rush. Next up is Covet. Covet is a band that I had not heard of until about 2 or 3 weeks ago when my friend Richard invited me to go see them live. So 2 nights ago, we went to the Brooklyn Bowl in Philadelphia and saw this trio live. Covet is a band that's really, it's really Yvette Young, who is an amazing guitarist. I can't describe how amazing. Plays with 2 hands on the neck, and considered one of the best female guitarists in the world, according to Richard, when that's how he discovered them. And the concert was really cool. This is they call them math rock, which is it's kind of heavy at times, headbanging at times, but it's also very passionate and very, very technical. So we got to see them the other night in a small crowd at the Brooklyn Bowl in Philly. Good stuff. They're from California, and Catharsis is the name of the new EP. So that's spinning in the last 90. What else? Okay, we have this one. This one we talked about briefly a few weeks ago. Everybody's talking about it on their channels. YouTube or Metallica's 72 Seasons, an album that I personally feel is the band's best album in 30 plus years since the Black Album. And I stand by that now several weeks later, now that I've had it. I've been spinning it a lot. And it's tremendous. It's the Metallica album that I've been waiting to come out for quite some time. So I know there's been mixed reviews on this, a lot of extremely judgmental people. This is a very, very good heavy metal album. Highly recommend Metallica 72 Seasons. So here's one that arrived via my subscription to Vinyl Me Please. And this is a selection of the month or two ago. Sublime's, I don't know if it's their debut, but it's their breakthrough album from 96. Actually, it's not their debut, but it was their last album with Bradley Nowell, who tragically passed away. Another just senseless loss to drugs. But this album was one that I've always known about. I've always liked the hits on it. Doing Time is such a great song. What I Got, Wrong Way, and of course Santeria. And this album I never heard in full. I mean, the 90s were kind of a dark time for me in music. I wasn't really embracing it as much as I am now. I'm now getting back into some of that 90s stuff. And this is a tremendous package. You really can't see. I mean, Vinyl Me Please is amazing. That's a subject for another video. But this is an album I added to the last 90 because I finally heard it for the first time. So it's never too late to get into something for the first time. Sublime, it's a really good album front to back. It's an album that we played, my wife and I, at our in-home happy hour a couple of weeks ago, straight front to back. And it just fits that happy hour theme. So Sublime. Next up is, we're really jumping all over the place here, guys. But that's the beauty of the last 90. Here's a power pop band that you probably never heard of from the 70s. These guys were formed in the early 70s. Shoes. They're from Illinois. This is their debut, major label debut called Present Tense. I saw these guys on the first or second day that MTV was broadcasting. So 1981, I saw a video, I think it was for Tomorrow Night, the song Tomorrow Night, and fell in just head over heels. This album was produced by Mike Stone, who did the Journey Escape album, amongst many others. So it's a quality production. The songs are great. There's 3 songs on here that were hits, I guess you call them, on MTV. And that would be A Cruel You, Tomorrow Night, and Too Late. But the rest of the album is also very, very good. I've had this album for quite a long time, but I just pulled it back out because when I was at a record show about a month and a half ago, I found their 3rd album, Boomerang, and picked it up. So I don't own their 2nd album, but I do have their 3rd one now. And this is also full of really, really good songs. Sadly not produced in the same manner that the first album was. I think this is self-produced, actually. Yeah, it's self-produced by Shoes. So it's a little more jangly and not so smooth. So I don't know how you like your power pop. Either way, highly recommend. Shoes is a good band. If you're going to start somewhere, grab Present Tense. It's a really good power pop album. Moving on from that, here's one that's going to be up for a candidate for Album of the Year for me, and that's Boy Genius. Does this matter if I take off the plastic? Yeah. This is really beautiful artwork. Yeah, there are the girls in the back. Boy Genius, if you don't know, it's a super group comprised of 3 extremely successful on their own women in indie pop, and that's Lucy Dacus, Phoebe Bridgers, and Julian Baker. If you don't know any of them, you should definitely listen to all 3 of them. Very talented, all still in their 20s, really emotive, very heavy lyrics, but very indie pop sounding, and that's what I expected here. At times, it does sound like a solo record for some of them because they each take turns on lead vocals. But we got to see Lucy Dacus in concert a couple of years back with the family, and she's really, really tremendous talent. And this album is very, very good. If you like indie pop, I highly recommend Boy Genius. The album is called The Record. Highly recommend. A couple that I don't have the physical copies just yet, Crownlands. Crownlands is a duo from Canada that wears the Rush influence on their sleeves. This is their 2nd album, Fearless, and I'm really getting into it. I have a feeling it's going to survive the last 90. But these guys are really, really talented. The vocalist sounds like a cross between Geddy Lee, Greta Van Fleetish, Robert Plant, that whole kind of high-pitched, almost screaming sound without screaming, if you catch my drift. It's not annoying. It's not like, he's being intentionally screechy. Really quality. The playing is excellent. And then they're a duo. So very interesting. Looking forward to seeing them live if they ever come around. Crownlands, the album is Fearless. Highly recommend. All right, back to the physical stuff. How about Dirty Projectors? Ever hear them? I didn't. Again, Vinyl Me Please delivers this, and I hated it on first spin. I didn't like it at all, but it was one that I added to the last 90, and it's growing on me slowly. This is like if pop music had a progressive side. They're from Brooklyn. They're kind of called experimental rock, but if you're a progressive rock fan like me, you understand the need to marinate with something. It's not just going to hit you right away. I'm thinking Elephant Talk from King Crimson, which is a later day King Crimson track. This album sounds a lot like a full album of songs like that. The lyric lines, the melodies don't quite go with the music. Everything comes kind of from left field. There's nothing that's expected. But if you give it time and you marinate with it, it might hit you. It's starting to hit me, and it's been almost 60 days now. But I think it's kind of cool. This is considered like a modern day experimental rock classic. If you look on Wikipedia, they really rave about it. It's from 2009, and I had never heard of it before. So yeah, it's gaining a little bit of traction in the old noggin. So Dirty Projectors. The album, by the way, is called Bit Orca, Bitteorca. In case you're interested. Moving on. First time in my 55 years I've ever given Bob Dylan a chance. Again, I had a freebie from Vinyl Me Please. I said, let me do something that I had never thought about doing before. Everybody talks to me about Bob Dylan. You gotta listen to him. You don't understand. You never gave him a chance. So I bought Blonde on Blonde, which is considered, I guess, his best album. I don't know. He's got 40 albums. And I actually liked it. I did. I liked it. Now, there's a lot of songs on here that are familiar. Just Like a Woman, Rainy Day Women, I'm forgetting, Visions of Johanna, which is considered a classic, is on here. I really like Sad Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, which is like a 10 plus minute track on side 4 that I just find really, really great. I'm not really a lyric guy so much, so from a lyrical standpoint, it doesn't really hit me, which is what Bob Dylan fans always do. Lyrics, lyrics, lyrics. For me, this album is great. Just overall, I love the performance. I like the production. It's fun. It's funny. It's loose. It's jangly. Yeah, I like it. Am I going to go out and buy a whole bunch more Bob Dylan? I don't know. But for now, that one makes the last 90, and it's probably going to, oh, I'm sorry for the shaking, and it's probably going to stay in Gen Pop once it graduates. So that's Bob Dylan, Blonde on Blonde. 1966, the oldest album represented here today in the last 90. How about, I forgot to mention Manchester Orchestra. Actually, I didn't forget, but I'm mentioning them now. The new EP comes out, is out, The Valley of Vision. They're from Atlanta, 6-song EP. It contains songs that they had recorded for their last album, which I like very much. The Million Masks of God, it was called. So the new one has got 6 tracks. It's kind of mellow, very, very unique voice, very, very, very easy to listen to. Pop / rock, indie. It's like a good mashup of all of those things. And if you're into that, I would suggest it very highly. Listen to Manchester Orchestra. Good record. How about we go from that to prog metal, little Haken. So Haken's a band that I've been with for, all 10 or 12 years of their existence. And I was really hoping that they would come out with a comeback of sorts. Their last 2 records, Vector and Virus, were both okay. Neither one blew me away. Virus was certainly a step up from Vector. This new one, Fauna, it's called, Fauna. I was actually hoping for something on the comeback side of things. And sure enough, it's exactly what it is. Very, very, very accessible, heavy prog. I'm thinking if you like to compare your prog metal to Dream Theater like everybody does, I would say this is a more melodic, a little more accessible. Ross Jennings, more of a tenderness in his voice, certainly, than other prog metal acts. Although he can get down and dirty, he doesn't really on this record so much. It's very melodic, very good. It's quiet. Each song takes you on a little bit of a journey, and I really, really like it. So I'm really thankful that Haken is back. Fauna is, it kind of reminds me of their second album, Visions, which is my favorite Haken album. This is very reminiscent of that. So I highly recommend Haken. A few more I want to mention here is Butch Walker. If you don't know who Bitch Walker, if you don't know who, sorry for the slip. If you don't know who Butch Walker is, he's an Atlanta-based singer-songwriter, producer extraordinaire. He's produced like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco. I think he produced Taylor Swift even. But his new album is out as a solo artist, and it's kind of structured like a barroom concert, complete with like bottles hitting each other and people chatting in the background. There's even a bar fight in the middle of it, an actual bar fight. Hard to explain unless you hear it. But he has an alter ego named Glenn. The album is really good. It's good. It's kind of straight up rock. Think like Matthew Sweet, almost an alternative / rocker, but it's not heavy. It's got some Americana influences to it. Some of it's even country-ish. And there's a couple nice ballads on it as well. He doesn't take himself too seriously. The lyrics at times are funny. So I recommend Butch Walker as Glenn is the album. Simon Collins and Kelly Nordstrom, if you know Sound of Contact, an album that came out 10 years ago now, which was really, really great. A debut progressive rock act. They broke up shortly thereafter, and Kelly and Simon went their separate ways. Simon, of course, is the older son of legendary Phil Collins. As you can imagine, he sounds a lot like his dad, which is a good thing. And percussively, if that's a word, the album is full. This new album that I'm talking about A new project called E Molecule is just heavy percussive is the way I think of it. There's all kinds of drums everywhere, but it's also got a very heavy spatial element to it. Now he's reunited with Kelly Nordstrom, so the two of them who were 2/3 or 2/4 of Sound of Contact are now together in this new project, E Molecule. That's where I'm going with this. The album is called The Architect, and don't expect Phil Collins-y Genesis stuff. There's nothing to do with one another. Simon's his own musician, very proggy. This is heavy at times, bordering on metal at times, but very, very, very good, melodic. Again, it takes a while to sink in. There's some longer tracks, but I really highly recommend this, and I have a feeling it's going to be in physical form here soon once the last 90 expires. And finally, I believe this would be the last one, and you would never think that this would be coming up next. But if you remember back in the early 80s, there was an artist named Aldo Nova. Where did I pull this from? Aldo Nova. Fantasy, the song with the lasers coming out of the guitar in the video. Of course, you remember that. I was an owner of that album. It's back here somewhere. Love that album to this day. He did a second album back in the mid-80s called Subject, which was excellent, bordering on prog a little bit, hard prog. And then he kind of went off in a pop metal kind of thing with Bon Jovi, did an album or two, kind of fizzled for me, jumped the shark, so to speak. And then he pivoted and had a 10 plus 20-year career as Celine Dion's musical director, muse, per se. He produced a bunch of her albums, went on tour, played guitar, wrote the songs, kind of behind the scenes. But I mean, Aldo Nova has always remained relevant in the music scene because of that. He won a Grammy Award producing a Celine Dion album. Don't ask me which one, because I'm not a Celine fan, but it was in there somewhere. And then all of a sudden, he decides to go back to rock. And he's dabbling in making new music. And this is something that he came out with last year. I just added it in the last 60 days or so. It's called The Life and Times of Eddie Gage. It's a rock opera. It's perfect for Aldo. Really interesting. Is it all amazing? No, it's not shredding, but it's very, very good guitar work, good production. The songs are heavy, almost in a winger kind of way. It's not prog, but if you're a prog guy, you probably would kind of gravitate towards it, if that makes sense. So listen, I mean, Aldo Nova got a lot of crap for being, poserish, and I guess he has a bit of a douchey sort of aura about him. He's the guy that puts up pictures of himself, posing on Facebook, with his new guitar and the duck face and all that. And I guess there is an element of that, but musically, he is a very, very talented musician. So I'm anxious to see what comes next from Aldo Nova. And if you are not familiar with him and you think fantasy's the only thing, give a listen to the first album or the second album. The self-titled, or the second album was called Subject. Both very, very good mid-80s hard rock albums. All right. So guys, that's it. It only took 20 minutes. I thought this was going to be 4 hours. That's what's in the last 90. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing anything you would suggest that I would add to my own last 90. And we'll be back with more album ranking videos soon with Rob in Iowa. We're working on a couple now. And then I'm going to continue to do this last 90 every 90 days or so. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Happy Sunday. Talk to you soon. Bye.